Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for 17 News at Noon. I'm Nicole Gitsky. We begin with breaking news. Police are on the scene of an officer-involved shooting. Now, KCSO is currently going to provide an update on what's happening. All right, let's take a listen in and hear what she has to say.
The Kern County Sheriff's Office was conducting an undercover narcotics investigation, at which point 3 suspects attempted to kidnap a federal agent. While a deputy was in the process of stopping that kidnapping, the suspects did display a firearm, and that's when the officer-involved shooting occurred. That was just after 10:30 a.m. this morning. No one was injured. The 3 suspects actually took off. They fled in their vehicle, which was later apprehended, and all 3 suspects were taken into custody, and a gun was recovered. Again, no one was injured.
And how many deputies were involved in that shooting?
I don't have, it was 1 deputy that discharged their firearm, but I don't have the amount of people that were involved in the investigation.
You know how long this narcotics investigation is going on before this thing happened?
No, I don't.
Anything else you can tell us at the moment that's available?
That's all that I can tell you at this time. That's all the information that I have. It's just important to note that no one was injured in this.
All right, we just heard the latest from KCSO regarding this officer-involved shooting that happened on World Haggard Drive. Now, they did say it happened around 10:40 this morning. Luckily, no one was injured. The suspects, they fled, but all 3 have been apprehended at this time. And now let's take another look at another scene. Now, these both are connected. BPD is saying that both of the scenes are connected to this officer-involved shooting. We are still working to get more information, but we do know that the suspects have been apprehended and taken into custody. We will have more on this coming up tonight at 17 News at 5. Now, President-elect Joe Biden is traveling to Washington today ahead of tomorrow's inauguration. A ceremony will be unlike any other, taking place in the middle of a pandemic and with security at level higher than at any other point in our nation's history. Jay Gray is in D.C. with more.
The buildup of troops, the building of fences, blocking off roads and bridges, an unprecedented security presence now in place in the nation's capital. More than 25,000 National Guard soldiers and airmen, alongside federal agents, state and local police.
Don't let it be lost on you, the history of this moment.
As President-elect Joe Biden makes his way to Washington for tomorrow's inauguration. Like the core of the city, the National Mall is locked down. Flags replacing the hundreds of thousands who normally fill the open space for the ceremony, but can't because of COVID-19 and security concerns. The president-elect will spend time here later today, honoring the now more than 400,000 Americans lost to the virus. Framed by the deadly attack on the Capitol, some have suggested carrying out the transfer of power at an undisclosed indoor location. But organizers say they're confident the process can continue just like it has for more than 200 years.
At this point, there's every reason to believe we can go forward with the inauguration outdoors. Even if the inauguration was indoors, there'd be a lot of security anyway.
Security that will remain in place, we now know, through at least the end of the month. Now, it's still not exactly clear what that security presence will look like, though we do now know it will include National Guard troops on the ground here. Jay Gray, NBC News, Washington.
And we are continuing to track the coronavirus pandemic here in Kern County. Although there was a brief moment of slowing, cases are nearing record-breaking levels. Now, we saw a decline in hospitalizations the past 6 days, but numbers are rising yet again. State data shows 425 people are in the hospital with coronavirus. That's up 14 people since yesterday. Currently, 88 people are in the ICU. People are still getting sick. 10% of Kern County has had coronavirus. 1 in every 20 people are currently infected. Public Health reported 530 new cases today. No additional deaths were reported. 565 people have lost their life. And an update on the severity of the pandemic. According to NBC News tally, there have been more than 400,000 coronavirus deaths since March of last year. The U.S. confirmed its first case a little less than a year ago on January 21st, 2020. More than 2 million have been recorded killed by the coronavirus across the world, but the U.S. death toll is the world's worst. The virus appears to be spreading at record high rates. 24 million people have been infected with COVID-19 in the U.S. since the start of the pandemic, the highest number of confirmed cases in the world. President-elect Joe Biden said last week he would use the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the National Guard to help open vaccination clinics around the country to help distribute the vaccine faster. And a new study from the University of Southern California and Princeton found the coronavirus pandemic is reducing the average U.S. life expectancy. The researchers used 4 scenarios of deaths, one in which the pandemic had not occurred, and 3 that included actual and projected deaths from the pandemic. They found that due to the pandemic deaths, life expectancy at birth for Americans will be shortened by 1.13 years to 77.48 years. That is the lowest life expectancy estimated since 2003 and the largest single-year decline in life expectancy in at least 40 years. The scientists also say the estimated reductions for the Black and Latino populations are higher when compared to the white population. And researchers in Southern California have discovered a new strain of COVID-19 that's been found in more than a third of the cases in Los Angeles. The scientists at Cedars-Sinai examined coronavirus samples from 192 patients who tested positive between November 22nd and December 28th. They found the strain, known as Cal-20C, was detected in 36% of the samples from hospital patients. The researchers are studying the new strain, but say there is no evidence at this time that it is deadlier or easier to transmit. However, they do say it could have played a role in recent surge of cases in the area. And an update on a story we brought you yesterday. The state of California has stopped using one batch of Moderna COVID vaccine after several people had apparent allergic reactions to one at a California clinic. That means about 330,000 doses from that batch cannot be used. Health officials say the clinic experienced a higher than usual number of possible allergic reactions, but fewer than 10 people needed medical attention. It's not known what the allergic reactions were. Health experts want to remind people that the risk of a serious reaction to COVID-19 vaccine is very small and that overall the vaccine is safe and effective. Providers were told to use doses from other available vaccine inventory until the investigation is complete. And here at home, 3,000 doses from that batch of the Moderna vaccine were shipped to Kern County. Kern Public Health says most 2,500 doses were not yet distributed to providers in the area. Southwest Pediatrics confirms it received 100 doses from that batch and are holding on to them until the investigation is complete. And Adventist Health said Monday it has not used a specific batch of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine linked to the allergic reactions in San Diego. That particular vaccine shipment was not administered at Adventist Health clinics in Bakersfield, Delano, or Tehachapi. Vaccine lot numbers are recorded on cards provided at the time of the injection. Adventist added that health professionals monitor patients for at least 15 minutes after vaccination in case any reactions do arise. And the Delano City Council is set to hold a vote today on whether to fine residents who ignore the stay-at-home order issued as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. That vote was originally scheduled for 2 weeks ago, but was postponed. If approved, the temporary ordinance would result in a $100 fine for the first violation of the state's order prohibiting gatherings of non-family members and dining at restaurants or operating hair salons, barbershops, and nail salons. Fines of $200 and $500 would be issued for second and third violations. In your 17 Crime Watch, the Kern County Sheriff's Office is warning about a phone scam with callers pretending to be sheriff's employees. KCSO says the caller will claim to have a warrant out for the person's arrest for missing a court date. They will then demand the person wire money to an account to retract the warrant. KCSO says the caller uses the names of actual Kern County Sheriff's Office employees to make it seem more official. KCSO says you should ask the caller for their name, employee identification number, and callback number, as well as a reference number for the matter they are calling about. That way you can confirm if the call was valid. If you believe you've been targeted, call KCSO at 861-3110. And the community of California City continues the search for Orrin and Orson West. Today marks 29 days since the boys were first reported missing. The reward money continues to add up for anyone who can help investigators find them and bring someone to justice for their disappearance. The total offering is now $100,000. Local pastor Ron Smith recently pitched in $10,000 to help. If you have any information, call California City Police at 760-373-8606. Or you can also remain anonymous and call the Secret Witness Hotline at 322-4040. And the Kern County Fire Department is beginning to recruit firefighters. This is the first academy of 2021 and the first since the pandemic began back in March. Over the next 8 weeks, 35 recruits will go through a variety of intense physical and mental activities, testing their skills and academic levels. For those who complete the academy, they will be assigned as a trainee at the KCFD fire station. The training is set to prepare those for real-life emergencies. In your 17 Business Watch, expect to see a new business coming to the Tejon outlets later this year. According to Tejon Ranch, Bird Dog Arts is expected to open early this summer. The 11,000 square foot space will display over 200 California artists. You can expect to see paintings, sculptures, glass, jewelry, and textiles. Tejon Ranch says the art gallery plans to include classes as well.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.